Welcome to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast presented by Fishhawk Electronics. If you're looking for news, tips, and stories about fishing the Great Lakes, you've come to the right place. And now your host, Chris Larson.
Hello and welcome to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast. Today we're talking Lake Michigan fishing, specifically in the Manistee, Michigan area. We're joined by Captain Alex Bialik from Fireplug Charters out of Manistee. Alex, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Before we get deep into fishing, Alex, tell me a little bit about Manistee. For people who don't know where it is, tell me about where it is and kind of what the city is like.
Manistee is located in northwest Michigan, about a half an hour north of Ludington and about an hour and 15 minutes south of Traverse City. Just two of the busier towns around us. But Manistee is a small little town, an old Victorian town, about 6,000 residents.
In a nice life around the lake, looks like it's a town that's really centered on lake life.
Yeah, absolutely. We have two rivers, the Big and Little Manistee rivers, that dump into Manistee Lake, and then Manistee Lake comes out into our channel and our pier heads, where I spend most of my summer. I do offer river charters as well, but Lake Michigan is kind of where I found my home and my calling.
Once you leave that dock and you head out into the lake, what is the water outside of Manistee like? What is the structure like in your area?
The structure in our area is for about 2.5, 3 miles. It's pretty flat, anywhere looking when you're fishing 12 feet all the way out to 60, 70, and you hit that 70-foot mark heading straight west out in Lake Michigan. You come to what we call the shelf or the bank, which runs pretty much from Frankfort all the way down to Pentwater, where you hit 70 foot of water. It just keeps dropping off until you hit the center of the lake and it starts coming back up. So we're very lucky to have that certain structure in our neck of the woods.
So when you're fishing that structure, what is that like? What kind of strategies are you throwing at that and using that structure to your advantage?
That structure right there will hold a lot of fish and a lot of bank, and that bank will hold a lot of bait as well at certain times of the year. But that structure, starting in the spring, early summer, we use a lot of smaller spoons, Dreamweaver Super Slims, just standard size moonshine, stuff like that. And as that water starts to set up a little bit better, where we can actually start focusing on the thermocline, which is about midsummer, we start getting our bigger spoons out, more flashes and flies. Yeah, that's really our program, until the salmon will hang out for a lot of that beginning of summer. And as the water warms up, those fish kind of start to move offshore, and you're able to chase those salmon, steelhead, and cohos offshore, or you can stay along our bank and fish for lake trout as well.
Yeah, I'm just kind of checking out you on social media and kind of looking at what you're bringing back. And it looks like lake trout is kind of the thing, in that early summer, but you're into the Kings right now. Can you tell me a little bit about how that fishery kind of changes throughout the year? What kind of fish are you guys really targeting as the year goes through?
Yeah, of course. Starting in May, when you start seeing a lot of fishing pressure and a lot of charters starting to get out, the 1st of May, we're really searching right around our pier heads and along the shoreline in that anywhere from 12 to 50 foot of water, in all honesty, following and just looking for the warmest water at that time of year, which can be creek mouths or other lakes dumping into Lake Michigan as well. We're really looking for a little bit of dirty water, fishing those small spoons like I mentioned before, and a couple flies, looking for king salmon, juveniles, and a few adults around. You'll have some cohos along with them, lake trout, and the occasional brown trout as well. You'll also find some steelhead starting to come out of those rivers and lake systems. And that'll last till about June, first week of June for the most part, where you'll see a lot of silverfish coming back to the dock and along Lake Michigan all over, but we're really just searching for the warmest water that time of year. And then after that first week of June, middle of June, we'll start to transition into what we call our typical summer program, looking for salmon, steelhead, those silverfish along the bank, and then fishing our bank pretty hard for lake trout as well, up until about the last week of July. And then July all the way through beginning of September, big kings showing up, adults, those 30-pound kings. Everyone wants to be a part of that club. Using those bigger spoons, J-plugs, and really targeting that thermocline where those fish are going to sit looking for bait.
Yeah, those kings are in right now. You guys are getting after them. What does that program look like? How are you attacking the water column, and how are you getting your baits out this time of year as you're chasing after those kings?
My typical setup this time of year would be 3 downriggers, which I typically leave just below that thermocline. And then as I start working my way up with my divers, I run wire divers for both sets, so highs and a low. I'll start using those and targeting right in that thermocline where those fish are most likely to be, looking for those bait fish, those alewives smelt. We're starting to see a lot more smelt in our fish this year as well. But then we start focusing above that thermocline with our coppers and lead cores out on board. Today, typical August setup, running those anywhere from 7 to 13 rods. We're really focusing with flashers and flies, meat rigs, spoons and J-plugs also went today. So you're really throwing everything you can at them. But for the most part this time of year, flashers and flies and meat rigs really work well for us. And then as that water heats up and those fish get a little closer to what we call the run or the pier head where they're going to start making their migration up the river, J-plugs really start to take off for us.
What are kind of the hot colors in that area? What are people tying on for colors?
Colors, when we're focusing right now, early mornings all glow like you typically see. So when it comes to flies, Riverside fly is our hot bait in Manistee. It's just a green with a little silver tinsel in it. It's all glow. And running that behind any kind of 8 or 10-inch spin doctor, typically white or black, you can never go wrong with it. And then when you're looking at meat rigs, again, our greens have been good, our purples have been good, and our reds have been good as well. And then when you're looking at spoons, their moonshine spoons right now are pretty tough to beat. A couple of my favorite right now are Green Knight and the Five Eyes that moonshine makes. And when you're looking at J-plugs, it's always hard to beat that double glow Ace High. That's probably been our number one producing J-plug this time of year.
Those kings are kind of getting ready to stage. The Manistee River is legendary trout and salmon water. What is that like in the fall? You said you do some charters on the river as well.
I truly believe we still have a few weeks left before all of our fish get outside Manistee. But once that lake water flips, you get a strong east wind or a strong northwest wind. It really cools that water down along the pier heads, and those fish will get sucked up inside there. And that river system, all of our river systems on the west side of the state are pretty phenomenal, but especially the Manistee area. To me, it is home, but it's one of the best fisheries there is in the world, and so for sure Michigan. But those salmon will get around the pier heads and that river water and that scent, and they want to go home. I mean, they swim their whole life just for one cycle of reproduction. So when they get in that water, it's go time. They're all adult fish when they're in the river systems, so you're looking at that 20 to 30 pound class of fish.
What is that window like? How long does it last where you can actually catch them?
There's catchable numbers of fish starting in the last week of August, going all the way through September. You can come up in October and do just fine as well if there's a late push. A few years ago, I recall having a late push where September 30th, fish really started pushing in, and you had good 2 weeks right there of actual silver kings that were actually being caught. But for the most part, the month of September is the time to be here.
Tell me about fire plug charters. Tell me about your charter, your boat, and kind of what you're all about.
Fire plugs charters started as really just a dream. I was a young college kid looking to follow a dream that I've been working on for a long time. I began obviously saving money up, first mating for other boats in the Manistee area, and really just truly finding a niche here. But Fired Lake Charter started with a big lake boat, the boat that I still use as of right now. It's a 10-meter Trojan, a 32.8 feet. It's one of the widest boats in Manistee for charter's perspective, and one of the most comfortable rides that I can even imagine. But I start out in Lake Michigan in May, and I go all the way through September. But for the most part, I'm in the river systems in September. In my river boat, I run Elfcraft boats in the river systems, and it's all spinning gear or center pins for the most part. And the fleet keeps on building. I also run inland lake charters. So if you're looking to get out and do just a family day on one of our lakes around here, Manistee Lake, Portage Lake, and Onekama, I offer those as well. And it's a husband and wife owned business. My wife and I run it together. So it's been a true blessing to run a business and be full time in this now.
Yeah, and you've been doing this for a long time. You told me that you've been a first mate since you were 11 years old. What was that experience?
Yeah. The fact that someone gave me a chance at such a young age, it was a blessing, and I fell in love with it from day one. The first trip I ever ran, it was in what we call the heydays of salmon fishing, where there was limits by 7:30 in the morning. And I just remember getting there and getting all the rods out and kind of just being starstruck at, you hear all these captains' names, and you finally get to go out and fish out of the same marina as them. And we went out and we had 20 fish in a matter of an hour, and it took us longer to clean fish than it did to catch them and run in and out. It really was something incredible, and I've been kind of addicted to ever since.
What's the most rewarding part of being a charter captain for you, Alex?
For me personally, it's getting someone out on, if it's Lake Michigan, the river, inland lake, whatever it may be. And really, you're making someone's day, you're making someone's life, you're making someone's dream come true of catching a big fish. If it's someone's first fish, whatever it is, that smile and, that drive that then they get, and that a passion that I can personally pass on to someone is so rewarding to me. There's really no other feeling. I get a lot of my customers tell me all the time, you act like, I myself personally act like it's the first fish I've ever caught, but that's a big goal for someone, and someone's coming up and wanting to spend a weekend with you or just a day with you, and you can make their day, you can make their year, whatever it may be, in just a split second.
Very cool. It's a dream for a lot of guys to be able to fish for a living. It's something that you do. What is kind of the biggest challenge for you to be able to continue to do what you do for a living?
The biggest challenge being that, we need more people into the sport. We need more people trying to help with stocking of salmon, lake trout, steelhead. We need some more support from everyone. But really the challenge is just getting people out and trying to get people booked for the year. And, I do it full time, but I would love to always be busier and meet more people and have more success out on the water.
This was a tough year to run a charter with COVID-19, especially in the state of Michigan. Tell me about kind of what happened this year with you guys and where you're at right now with all of that.
Starting in March, we got shut down, but March we had a couple weeks there where we were actually allowed to run trips, but with everything going on in media and a lot of the fear factors, from what I see, people were calling and canceling trips. So that made it very, very tough for us to kind of stay afloat, because you had cancellations, but you also had to understand that, people were scared, and it was a real issue because we didn't know as much. So you had to respect people canceling trips. And then when we actually got shut down, I lost my majority of what I would call my spring steelhead run in the river systems. And then April came around, and we were hoping we'd get open back up, and we didn't. And then I lost a big chunk of my inland lake season going perch fishing in some of our lakes around Manistee. So when May 7th came around and we got the word that we're able to start running trips, I'm excited for the big lake season every year, but it was a little extra special this year.
It's been great, Alex. Love having you on, and a lot of good stuff out there. And hopefully, like to get you on again maybe later on as you get into that river fishing thing. I'd like to really maybe break into that a little deeper, because all I hear about is if you want to go river fishing, you got to go to the Manistee River. So maybe have you on later.
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to be back. Thank you for inviting me and having me out today. It really was a pleasure talking to you. But yeah, I would love to pick apart that river system and give you guys some more knowledge on that as well.
Alex Bialik from Fireplug Charters. If people want to get a hold of you to book a trip or just see what you're up to on social media, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Fireplug Charters, or you can find me on Instagram at Fireplug Charters as well. But if you're wanting to book a trip, or if you just are looking for something in the Manistee area, I am a huge advocate for Manistee and the things we have to offer here. So give me a call at 231-690-3937.
Alex Bialik from Fireplug Charters, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast presented by Fishhawk Electronics. For more information on fishing the Great Lakes, visit our blog at fishhawkelectronics.com.